Welcome back to the Anfield Exchange. Today we're talking about Richard Hughes. Where is he? What's he doing? We've got so much going on within the club and we haven't heard anything from him. The last time we saw him was when he sat beside Arne Slot in the press conference, and it's getting a little bit frustrating now. I'm not doubting him because his record at Bournemouth, I think he has got a decent record at Bournemouth. But we've just not seen anything of him at Liverpool. Obviously, we've got the contract situations with Trent, Salah and Van Dijk still going on. And look, that probably should have been something that was the first thing in his inbox tray when he came into Liverpool. They should have been settled up by now. I don't understand why they're not. I know these things can potentially take time. I know there's rumours that Trent might not want to sign. But look, we should know exactly where we stand by now. With these three players being able to speak to clubs in January, we should know exactly where we are right now. And the fact that they haven't signed tells me that potentially we know where we're at with them and they're not going to be playing for us next season. I don't know. But I think Richard Hughes has got a lot to answer for. I just want to run through some of his sort of signings at Bournemouth that got him the job at Liverpool. And look, when you see, I'm going to go through the numbers in a minute, but when you see the numbers, it sort of lines up with how FSG appear to want to run the club. So I can understand them bringing him in. I just think we probably should have seen something a little bit more from him by now. So I'm going to start off firstly. So he was responsible for when Gary O'Neill saved Bournemouth from relegation. He was responsible for sacking Gary O'Neill and bringing in Areola, and he got a lot of stick for that. I don't think many, not only Bournemouth fans, but many football fans really understood the decision. Gary O'Neill did a good job. And look, let's start from the beginning. He was responsible for bringing Gary O'Neill in as well. I think if you're looking at it a year, 18 months later, it looks like it's been a good deal, but he was responsible for that. So, look, credit where credit's due. It was a tough decision to make, and he's made what I would say the right decision because Bournemouth seem to be flying at the minute. In terms of transfers, again, it's a similar sort of... I don't think he's afraid to spend money on potential as opposed to ability. So if we look at first ones, remember when Liverpool sold Dominic Solanke for 20 million? He was responsible for bringing Solanke into Bournemouth. He brought him for 20 million and sold him for 50 million to Tottenham. So there's profit there, 30 million profit. And yeah, look, Solanke appeared like he was a flop at Liverpool. He appeared in the same vein at Bournemouth, but he then went on to obviously develop and grow into the player he is today, and obviously Tottenham bought him for 50 million. The next one, Nathan Ake. I mean, I've always liked Nathan Ake. I've always thought he was brilliant at Bournemouth. They brought him in for 20 million, and they let him go to Man City for 40 million. So again, there's 20 million profit in that one. Callum Wilson, they brought for 3 million, and they sold him for 20 million to Newcastle. Aaron Ramsdale, they bought for £800,000 and they sold him for 18.5 million to Sheffield United. Tyrone Mings, he bought for 8 million, sold him for 25. He brought Semenyo into Bournemouth, who's still there at the minute. They paid 10 million for Semenyo from Bristol City. And I think, look, there are rumours that Semenyo will leave. I think he probably will leave in the next 2 years. And they'll probably turn a profit on there. So when you look at his previous dealings, I can understand why FSG have gone for Richard Hughes. I think FSG are very aware that they don't want to go out there and spend £100 million on a player. They want to bring in a player for a reasonable fee who's probably not the finished article and who they can then build up to sell on later. It works for Bournemouth, does that model. I'm not sure it works for Liverpool. We'll have to wait and see how that develops through Richard Hughes' tenure. But look, the most frustrating thing for me, this guy took annual leave from January 1st to January the 9th. How can you do that when you've got 3 players' contracts still to tie up? How can you do that the first week and a half of a January transfer window? I just don't understand what he's doing. And I'd appreciate it more if he came out and said, look, we're trying to do some business, we're trying to bring new players in, we're trying to get these contracts signed, but there's just nothing. It's silence, and as it goes on, you just start to lose a little bit of faith in Richard Hughes. Look, we never made any signings in the summer, which, okay, we did bring in Chiesa for 10 million. A club of Liverpool's stature should be doing a lot more than that. They were in for Zubimendi. That didn't happen. Obviously, he decided to stay at Real Sociedad. So, yeah, I mean, he's not had the busiest of times at Liverpool at the minute. And this isn't to say that he's not working on things in the background, but we as Liverpool fans, we haven't seen anything yet. And I think we're getting to that point now where, look, I get it, the feeling I get is that Salah wants to stay, Van Dijk wants to stay. Trent's a little bit more difficult. So get the Salah and Van Dijk stuff done. Sit them down in a room with their agents and don't leave the room until that deal has been completed. Get Salah signed down for another 2 years. Get Van Dijk down for another 2 years. And then have a conversation with Trent. If Trent wants to leave, let him leave and bring someone in to replace him. I'm not sure Conor Bradley is the answer. He's a good young player with bags of potential, but I don't think he's first team quality for Liverpool right now, even though he has done well for us when he's played for us. But yeah, I mean, look, basically the reason for doing this video is to sort of just have a little discussion about Richard Hughes, and I want to know what you guys think, because I'm getting more and more frustrated with what's going on at Liverpool, and our owners have never been ones to go out and just spunk a load of money. Do you know what I mean? We're never going to get what Man City have with under FSG. We're always looking for opportunities, and that's fine, because I think in the past, the way we've been doing transfer business, it has worked. Obviously, Jurgen Klopp had a big part to play in that. Michael Edwards had a big part to play in that. But then when Michael Edwards left, if you look at our signings where we brought in the likes of Nunes, we have had some signings that haven't worked out, and Nunes, I think it was 65 million with add-ons. We will never recoup that back for Darwin Nunes, and we're probably unlikely to get the player we thought we were going to get out of that. But Richard Hughes has got a massive job on his hands, and I think now is the time for us to start to see what he has to offer and what he's been signed for. I mean, he's done it at Bournemouth, and look, the difference in the two clubs, Bournemouth are a club that would want to bring in young players and sell on for a profit. I don't believe that's Liverpool's model. We should be looking at developing players into first team players to go on and be successful, not to sell at a later date. So, and I'm not saying Richard Hughes has been brought in to do that, but his record previously shows that's what he's good at, which would suit FSG. I don't think it will suit the Liverpool fans. And that's the interesting question. Is that the same? Has he got the same role now as what he had at Bournemouth? Is that what he's been brought in to do? Or FSG just looking at it from a point of view where, right, let's bring a player in, let's have a few good years, and let's make some money at the end of it. Again, not my ideal situation with Liverpool, but equally, if it gets us financially stable and it allows us to spend more money in the windows, then it's a good idea. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Richard Hughes, where are you? Let's get these contracts settled. Let's get some new players into the club. Show us why we've paid that money to bring you in. And I'll see you on the next video.